Oh, my arm's in the way. Hey, we're live. Look at that. Wow. Live on YouTube. I guarantee nobody
Hey,
is watching right now because I don't have many YouTube followers, but I need to build up the
I was gonna say, let's get that out there.
following. Yeah, it's a good chance to do it. That's the whole point.
Absolutely.
So, hello, Lynn.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Awesome. Could be better.
Wonderful to have you here today.
Absolutely.
So, if anybody's watching on YouTube, this is Rob Z Radio, as you can see from the sign on the wall. Podcast I host in Altoona, Pennsylvania, Central PA. We haven't done many YouTube lives, actually none. This is pretty much the first one. It's usually on
I'm
Facebook.
honored. Oh, awesome.
What an honor, right?
Hi. Absolutely.
So today we have Lynn Faust. Am I saying your last name right?
Correct.
Okay. And you run Crystal Clear Wellness.
Yes.
And I'm going to let you talk about what you do because I will butcher it all up.
You and me both. Trying to find a label for myself, that's the hardest part. I'm actually an ND that works here I'm in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. And I try to coach people into better habits, better living habits, better eating habits, all that fun stuff. That's the nutritional side of things, but
Mhm.
the more esoteric and fun side of things, I am a psychic medium who I read. I read people constantly. That's what my reference was, isn't to trying to hear, see if we get any downloads today. But I'm absolutely love what I do. I can't even categorize it really. I mean, I'm a Reiki master of 20 years. I'm basically an energy guru. I absolutely feel everything out. I absorb everything around me. I've learned really easily how to buffer energies because working in the prison system for close to 12 years would do that to a person.
I was going to say, so this is kind of the crazy part of your story is that
Yes.
this is something you've been tapped into since you were a little kid, obviously.
Very
You were
little.
born with it.
Yes.
But your life did not always involve this as your living.
No, absolutely not. Not until just the last like 4 years. I mean, I really started tapping into what it is, and I actually went back to school because I was so worried about people giving me the stigma of, oh, so where did you go to school? What's your title? What's your alphabet soup? Is like we like to call it. So I went back to school just for that, and I would not even do what I was doing, let alone charge any service fees for doing what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it for free.
For what reason? Just to
Well,
prove that it was authentic?
yes.
So if you charged for it, you could be a fraud and be doing it to
Yes.
make money.
And that was a big worry for me because there were
Yeah.
so many people out there.
Well, we were just talking about Patty Wilson. I had on here a couple episodes ago. And she can speak to dead people. It's wild. You have to check out that podcast. But that's what, she still doesn't take money. She still does it all pro bono. And she said the reason was because she wanted it seems more authentic if you're doing it
Absolutely.
out of the kindness of your heart
And
as a
and for
gift.
her to be that tuned in, I mean, I've had this gift since I was little, but to really, I don't draw upon them. They come to me. So it's kind of hard to just sit down and say, hey, Rob, by the way, did you have so and so? No, I will get a download in my ear. So that's why I can't quite charge anybody for that service.
Yeah.
Because if I do and nothing comes through, I feel horrible.
Right.
So I don't promote that service, but if I'm doing a card reading and something comes through, you're going to know. I would be the first to say, by the way, did you? And that's typically where it stems off. And I still don't charge for that service. I just can't.
Right, because it just wouldn't feel like the right thing to do.
No, it wouldn't.
Um, the part that I found fascinating when I first met you was it last week we first met or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks. It was on my birthday.
On your birthday.
That's right.
Happy birthday.
That's
What a
right.
special gift you got.
I did.
Was that you were working in the prison system were you a guard?
I was a corrections officer, yeah.
How and why? Like, 'cause I can't imagine the energy that you get from prisoners.
Yes. And it didn't start here in Pennsylvania either.
Okay.
Um, real quick, I was in Montana. I was with my ex-husband, and we had been married, I think it was close to 6 or 7 years when I started there. And it was at the Montana State Correctional Penitentiary. And I worked in the maximum security unit as a female.
Wow.
And it was all males. And it was a very interesting, and no offense to Pennsylvania or anybody out there, but it was a real prison. I'm just going to say it like that because...
Real prison.
Well, yeah, it was a lockdown type of prison.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
we had people buying beds from... So the worst of the worst in different states, they don't want to house them. So they would buy a bed in Montana and send that inmate there.
Oh, geez.
So if you've
Okay.
never heard of people like... Well, Nathaniel Barjono was one of them. He's actually deceased now. But, yeah. Google that one. That's all I'm going to
Like
say.
the kind of prison shows you see on Locked
You
Up.
did see that.
That,
You
like,
did see that stuff on Locked Up. I was
Okay.
actually involved in a few different mini riots that we had out there,
oh,
and
jeez.
yeah, it was interesting. It's fun.
Why did that, how did that attract you?
It didn't attract me, to be quite honest with you.
The money?
The money was the big thing
Yeah.
in medical. My husband at the time, he was running the boot camp program out there, so it was kind of up the hill from us, and he was like, you know what, I can get us benefits, and I was like, no, I can do this for myself, and so I, stepped up.
So you put the SWAT gear on,
Mind
the riot gear?
After selling 8 years of adult novelty items, I left that job and went to work at the prison.
And the plot thickens.
So as I'm at the prison, I mean, it was very interesting, and plus I always knew I had a need for helping people.
Yeah.
Hence the reason for the job prior, because women, they all need help.
Right.
In that aspect. So going to the prison, I was there to help there as well, because I was providing safety and security for our people in the community and the inmates in the jail.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez. So working in the prison system, as a woman in a maximum security, there's probably not many women in there, are there?
No, there was quite a few, considering that there was never very many in there. So I had probably 5 or 6 really close female friends that I worked with there.
Oh, okay.
So they're like sisters. I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, you have to be that close and tight with people, because otherwise you never know if they're going to have your back.
Yeah.
But yeah.
In bad situations, right?
At my night shift, I worked with a female who was 5 months pregnant.
Oh,
One of my last days there, we ended up dealing with a death, and yeah, it was very interesting, to say the least. So.
Man. Now, as far as like what you do now, did working in the prison system help with that? Like, did you tap into?
It did, because I had to learn how to shut it off. I see auras as well, so I can look at people and I can see colors around them everywhere.
You were saying you talk with your hands. So
yes, I do. I talk with my hands a lot. So the colors I see on people on the streets, for the most part, are normal colors. But when you get inside those prison systems and you see these murderers, these child rapists, these everything that are in there, and you just kind of go, oh my gosh, because I didn't have to know what they were in there for. I knew what they were in there for by looking at their colors, and so I had to learn how to shut that down. So yeah, it helped me really fine tune a lot of that.
So when you say auras, what does an average person's aura look like? What color is it?
Any color of the rainbow, basically. Okay. But how it's projected on the body, like how close it is to the body, that's typically, to me, tells me that they're in repair, so they can be very sick.
If it's closer, the more in repair you are.
Yes, because the energy has to hold tight to the body.
Okay.
So
you don't see auras with everybody?
Not always, no. And but I will see color. I won't see broad. And if I have to stop, I don't purposely, trust me, I'm not going to walk down the streets. Everyone be like, purple, green, yellow, blue. No, it's too much work for me. But, I mean, just sitting here with you, I mean, you're against the white wall super easy. I don't even have to guess your color. It just pops right through to me.
What's my color? I want to know.
You're orange.
Oh.
It's a very creative type, believe it or not.
Okay.
And that does match your stuff, too. So this is amazing.
So you did a full readout of me, by the way, in case everybody's wondering. She knows who I am inside and out.
Every
barely
dark
even know
corner
me.
there is.
So whenever you would be in the prison, you saw somebody, what was like a dark or like black?
There were two. I actually left Montana whenever I divorced my ex-husband, and I packed my kids up. We traveled the whole way across back to Pennsylvania, where I grew up from, in the area, and I got hired on at Rockview. And
which is in Huntington.
It is. It's in State College.
Oh, State College, right?
Yes.
State College.
Well, Bellefonte, to be quite exact. But and I don't want to down talk anything, but it was definitely a college campus compared to what I had come from.
Oh, okay.
So, and when I say that, I mean literally, like the inmates were out walking the streets, or out walking I can't say streets, the blocks.
Yeah.
And they were very free range, and so getting in Montana, they were always behind locked doors unless we were showering them, taking and doing other things with them, like to med call and whatnot. But this here, I was shoulder to shoulder with these inmates. Mm. Even tighter tuning and learning how to turn my empathy and my stuff down quite a bit. But there were 2 inmates I seen out there that I could never shut their colors off.
Really?
One was, I mean, I say this, and it's still to this very day makes my stomach just twist. And he was so dark and so just putrid in color. It was, I can't even put a label to it. And auras normally are just light and fluffy. His was murky and cloudy like, and he was in for multiple murders. He was all of 4 foot 11 inches tall.
Wow, really?
One of the scariest beings I've ever been around.
This was in state.
He's still there.
That's in State College, or Belfont.
Yeah.
Boy, that's crazy. So when you left, did it since you were bottling up your powers, I guess, did they explode whenever you left there? Because you didn't have to.
What happened is I got super sick.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you told me about
did.
this.
I was down and out forever. It felt like, but it was 2.5, 3 years. I was quote unquote couch ridden, but bedridden.
And this was over a decade ago at this point.
It was in 2010, 11, and 12.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it was insane. It was just miserable for me, and I've learned a lot. But I also learned by turning off my senses, turning off my gifts, at the extent in which they were heightened, it poisoned me to the deepest, darkest pits of my soul.
Damn.
And I swear to you, to this day, losing my grandmother in that same time frame when this all happened, it was just one of those big booms, and my whole world crumbled. The foundation beneath my house was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to rebuild. And by rebuilding, also helped fine-tune more of those gifts.
In that state, when you were really deep and dark into that, did you know, in your soul, that you were going to bounce back and do what you're doing now, or was it kind of this is the end?
It's a lot of talking to myself, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
To try and convince yourself you can do.
Yeah.
Because when I say deepest, darkest pits of my soul, I was poisoned, it was for real.
Because at that spot, and everybody's different, but I've been not depressed at that point before, but it's hard for anybody to pull you out. You almost have to.
Absolutely.
Something has to, that switch has to kick on.
And all your dear friends, they're like, well, we tried, so they walk and they turn.
Yeah. And
I can't say everybody turned on me, because they didn't. I wouldn't be able to have the energy to deal with someone like I was at that point today.
Do you consider that turning on somebody, or if you put the work in, I guess, and you're like, oh, if I've done all this and I can't, what more can I do? I can't let it ruin my life.
No, exactly, and that's turning on someone is a harsh word for me to say, but that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
But I know now, looking back and reflecting, that they were preserving themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, saving themselves because you were going to pull them down with them. Yeah. That's intense, and through that experience, that's what spawned all this. What you're doing now.
Goodness, yes, I tell you, you said whether or not you'd be able to bounce back yourself. If it wouldn't have been for one lady in town who literally came in my house and looked at me and said, get off and get moving.
Yeah.
And she says, I don't care what it takes. And I just kind of looked at her and I said, I can't. And she goes, you can and you will. And that's Tracy Stroop. I mean, she is also a naturopath I worked with in Tyrone before I opened my own shop.
So somebody did actually come in and
She did.
you.
And if it wouldn't have been for her, I can't say I wouldn't have done it, but she showing that dedication and that just simple. She made me an exercise plan to get my body moving so I could start detoxing, because we can't detox ourselves without movement.
Yeah.
And so when she came in and did that, I mean, it was like, wow, she started it was a fire under my butt. I'll tell you, from that point on, it took probably about 3 weeks doing this little protocol she had, and I was so embarrassed to do it because, mind you, I was a kickboxer for close to 6 years in Montana.
Okay, that's another part of the story.
And
was this why you were with the adult products?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely. And the whole reason, that's the reason why I started that. Was a whole other story in itself. But my ex-husband and I had a very physical relationship. When I say that, he was hands-on.
Yeah.
And so I took up kickboxing to hide the bruises.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you took up kickboxing to defend yourself.
That too. So it got to the point where it wasn't just him. It was the two of us. It was toxic.
Boy.
So, yeah.
So you're sparring in the living room.
As the kids are upstairs sleeping, and my oldest son protecting his little brother with earphones so he couldn't hear what was going on. It was insane. It was a very toxic environment. But we all learn and we all move forward, and this is just part of that story. But yeah, we definitely, the kickboxing side of it was one of my favorite agendas, I should say. But
do you still practice kickboxing?
I'm lucky to lift no, just teasing. No, I didn't. I haven't kickboxed in a while.
Why not?
Well, to be quite honest with you, it took a killing on my body.
Yeah.
I went from, I was doing really well in Butte, Montana, and when we left and then moved to Pennsylvania, and then I got sick, the body just deteriorated. So all the muscle structure, the muscle memory, all that stuff. I probably could, but
You bounce back for sure. If you were in it for 6 years,
oh yeah,
and you went back and started up again, I'm sure you'd
yeah.
come back pretty quick. That's pretty cool. That's another interesting. You've had a pretty interesting life.
Oh,
The things you've worked, places you've worked, and the things you've been involved with. Like the kickboxing part. How does that? And let me ask you. 'Cause I take jujitsu, and I've been noticing that there's definitely some parallels between. Because I hate using the word spiritual because it sounds so like corny and can mean so many millions of different things.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it's a blanket term that people just kind of throw around, right?
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Actually, some people do. But I've noticed with jujitsu, like there's that connection to humans. We don't have a connection to humans. Like we don't ever touch each other. So when you said you were a hugger, I was like, well, of course you are.
Yep.
That's like your industry. It makes sense. But jujitsu's taught me that a lot. It's just like the stress relief of being in difficult situations. Number one, to be in a situation like where I know like the person's not trying to kill me, but I'm in a very uncomfortable spot where they could like choke me out or whatever, and just being in close contact with another human, and not
skin contact,
and not in a sexual way. So
no.
Usually the only time we're ever in contact with somebody is in a sexual way. So like just getting past those barriers of like I guess your auras, right? You're mixing auras together.
You totally are, especially different chakras of the body touching. I mean, it's it's a spiritual connection.
It's
intense.
intense.
In a sense, yes.
And that's how they've used martial arts throughout the years. It's been like half of it's been spiritually based.
And it's a lot of it was from maintaining and collectively keeping the ego in check.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that a lot of people.
So did you get a lot of that from kickboxing?
Absolutely did. I mean, depending on who it is you study under, I mean, you get different. I don't want to say policies, but disciplines, for lack of better terms. But yeah, absolutely, because every different martial art has pretty much the collective same, but there are specific fine tuning that's done between. I absolutely loved it. I did.
Very cool. I want to see you get back into it. I'll go spar with you. That's cool that you were doing that.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
This is one of the big questions I want to ask because I find I want to hear what your answer is to it, because a lot of people would say what you do is BS. It's not real.
Oh.
It's a bunch of la-di-da, hocus pocus, yeah, whatever, yeah, magical.
I hear that a lot, yes.
Whatever. So what do you say to that when somebody says it's a bunch of woo-woo stuff that doesn't make any sense and you're just making all of this up? How do you?
My first
that?
response is, "You came to me," and that's if it's that much of a bunch of whatever.
Also, somebody will come to you.
And a lot of people will come in the store and be like, "What is this about?" Because I have crystals everywhere.
Well, how do they?
And I'm like,
how did they get in there?
You came in here, so you obviously were drawn in here for a reason.
Yeah.
And when people don't believe.
And you're down like an alleyway too. It's not like you're a storefront.
It's awesome. It's like walking down Harry Potter's Diagon Alley.
Right.
You get to the door, you knock, and it opens. So you don't have to knock; you can just walk in. But literally, right behind Jews, that alleyway, in a sense, is like a spiritual awakening as you're walking down there as is. We tried to talk about painting it, but they have historic buildings. They won't hear anything.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, all the Hollisburg buildings.
Yeah, but no. When people come to me and they say that, I just literally a part of me wants to get angry.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the time, I would have. But I've helped so many people find what it is that they need in the world today. It doesn't mean that it was, this, that, or the other. I've helped them find that. So to me, I know what I do works.
Yeah.
Reiki, oh my gosh, it's amazing. You've had the chance to experience with me for the first time. That I can honestly say it's a personal experience for each and every individual person.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so hard to actually say what it did, or to even just to put the words together and say, well, it made me feel this way and this way. Like, you can't put it into words. It's impossible.
No, you have to experience it for yourself. Yeah. And each practitioner is different. So you get to experience what it is I do. I mean, I'm not your absolute typical Reiki practitioner. A lot of the times, if I feel that you have blockage and I don't feel that my the energies are working at 100%, we're going to amplify that with the crystal. We're going to put it on there. Or let's say sage. We help clear and cleanse the aura. If you've never been, and I will do that with almost every person on their first time, because it's just easier to make and work through the muck than it is to work through a force field of gunk, is the better way of putting it.
Yeah.
And to be honest with the, how do I explain it? not just a Reiki. I mean, you also have the tarot and the different card readings that I do. People are like, oh, you could read that for anybody. You're absolutely right. I could. I could use this interpretation for everybody. But I'm not telling you this is perfect and it's sky-clad everything, right there and in the open.
Yeah.
This is what my interpretation is for you. So every reader has a different perspective. I've many people that I've worked with in the past, just recent, I say in the past, but in a real recent past, helping them understand cards. And it's amazing. Every person is individual. So I would never get angry nowadays. But I will say that if you don't believe it, that's fine. Give me a chance. I'll show you. And we'll see where you feel after that.
Yeah, because you have so many people who, I shouldn't say so many, because I don't know who's telling the truth and who's not, but there's many people out there, which we were talking about before we started, that just maybe they fake it, or maybe they think that they believe, maybe they think that they have those powers and they actually don't. How do you know? I guess how would you be able to figure out somebody else who's doing psychic readings or who does Reiki or whatever it might be? Is there a certain code of honor that you guys all have together?
There's absolutely a code of honor, especially with Reiki.
Okay.
I mean, you just can't. I mean, there's a steady way of being attuned.
Okay.
So it's typically 2 years in each phase. And so 2 years in phase 1, 2 years or 2
to be
phase
trained.
1, yes, for training.
Okay.
So the longer that you've had your training, I would like to say you would be more in tune. But that's not always necessarily the case. There are some people out there right now that are getting attuned in 6 months to masters. To me, that's absurd. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is it takes a long time to absorb these energies. One, phase 2, level 2, when you're in level 2 Reiki training, you open like an onion, and it's ugly. Mm-hmm. The things that you find, and it's beautiful at times too, but those layers you peel, mm-hmm. There's lots of tears shed, there's lots of energy shared, there's so much training that goes involved in that. And so 6 months, you're just not going to get it done.
Well, that's just anything in life in general. I mean, it's at least 18 months till you're fully accustomed and pretty fluid with something.
Absolutely.
So to be a master in a year is ridiculous.
It's a little much.
Unless you're like a Zen master or something like that, right? I mean,
something that ascended from the clouds.
Yeah, there might be somebody out there who can realistically do that.
And I won't take that away from anyone, because I mean, everybody is spiritually gifted in a certain way, and not everyone's the same. So I can't say that these people that are 6 months in, that they aren't good, mm-hmm. because I don't know that. I would never poo-poo someone, is my favorite word, for that very reason. But I will honestly say that when people come in and they get on my table, I mean, you feel it. There's something there, and you cannot deny that energy that comes through. Mm-hmm. Might not be super intense the first time you're on, but it does come through with times. I had a lady, and I won't drop names, but who was completely just, whatever, okay. And I said, Tracy and I both worked with her as a patient, or a client, I should say.
So if she's saying whatever, why was she there in the first place?
Thank you. There was a part of her that was curious and wanting a healing of some sort. Well, I don't do the healing. The energy from above, that's what does the healing. I am just the antenna. Yeah. So I personally do not fix you. No one above does. That's all I can say. So when she was saying, I just need help and I need this, and just give me a chance. And so Tracy talked her into it, and she actually came to see me for the first time about 4 or 5 months ago. She got off the table and she's like, I'm not so sure about that. I'm like, that's fine. She went home, and biggest thing is her and her husband were having issues with her wanting to be active sexually. And she was like, when can I get back in for that Reiki thing? I was like, why are you asking? I have no problems getting you in. I get you in on Tuesday. She's like, I want to come every day of my life for the rest of my life. I was like, why? And she says, you fixed me. I was like, I didn't fix you, dear. The energies just needed balanced. Sure enough, she's in there every single Tuesday or Thursday, depending, at 3 times a month easy.
That's awesome.
Because she witnessed how it helped her.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, it's incredible. Now, I can't say that happens for everybody, but I mean, that in itself.
A good testimonial, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's actually, I think, on their webpage, she did a testimonial too.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, I've noticed. So you were saying, going through the process, it's opening you up, and that doesn't necessarily mean all good things are going to come out, right?
Absolutely.
So I've been meditating for it's been 3 years now, and that's when I first got into it. I was like, oh, this is gonna make me. I was like, what's gonna make me a better person? Was that what I kept thinking? Like, oh, meditation's gonna make me a better person. But then the further I got into it, I realized it's not necessarily going to make you a better person. It's just going to expose you to who you are.
Yes.
And then you can make the decisions whether you want to go the right way or go the wrong way.
Exactly.
But it shows you who you are, and you're like, oh,
Those
this is
onion
how
layers.
I think.
Boom.
Yeah, when you peel those onion layers back, and you're like, oh crap. I thought I was going to be like, this is all going to be sunflower or sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, and it's like, oh,
Here comes the thunderstorm.
there's a bunch of dark stuff in there. So maybe not even dark stuff, but just
not so pretty.
Yeah, we're not self-aware enough.
No.
You don't realize how you actually are. And that was one of the things that helped me out a lot. So is that what Reiki kind of did going through the program? Like,
gave her a mirror.
Just showed you,
Gave
and for you
everybody
yourself.
oh my gosh, yeah. That in itself was an eye-opening experience for me, because I think, as we've talked before the show here, my grandmother was my biggest, I can't say my biggest reason, but she always told me, she says, you're going to help so many people. You're going to do this. You're going to need to do this. And then my son got sick, and my oldest son, when he was little, and then I ran into the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life, Caroline Kennedy Ray, Sunshine Ray, I should say, out in Washington State. Whenever we were in the military, we were stationed up in Bremerton.
Now, what were you in the military for?
I was actually in the military myself.
What were you?
I was a diesel mechanic.
Wow, okay. For what form of the military?
I was in Navy.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and my ex-husband.
Is that like out of high school? You got
right out of high school.
Okay.
That's a whole other story in itself. But my ex-husband, at the time, my husband, took, and he was deployed, and I didn't know the hospitals, didn't know anything. My son got a really, really, really high fever, and I didn't know what to do. And she says, let me show you. And she came and she did Reiki on him and took his fever down from 104 to like 100.1 in less than 25 minutes.
Wow.
And two of the things was that she did the Reiki, and then she did the pulse points on the pinkies. When you hold two pinkies, it actually helps calm the heart, soothes the soul, the whole nine. And I was like, I have to learn how to do that. And so it was at that point, she was like, this is what we need to do. My son's 24, and that's why I'm like, I was about 20 years, because he was about 4 years old when this happened. And it was that same weekend I conceived my baby, my youngest one. So it was so weird how, like, all of this stuff just synced easily. So but that's how I got started in Reiki, was because of my son being sick.
That's fascinating. She came in and did that, and you were like, well, I've got to get involved.
So I was there for 4 years.
So you started training Reiki
at that point in time. And mind you, I just met her. We had just moved into this condominium complex that was there, and literally met her that weekend.
What were you thinking when she came in to do it? Were you like, oh, this is kind of weird?
Well, I was kind of into that woo-woo stuff anyway, as we call.
Now, back then, 20 years ago, it seems like Reiki all of a sudden is like everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. I didn't even know what the word was until maybe a year ago. Mm-hmm. So back then it was probably like...
It was very taboo.
Yeah, nobody knew what it was, or very underground.
She was also a Feng Shui master as well.
Oh, okay.
So literally our apartments were kind of kitty corner. Like, she was up top. There I go, hitting the mic again. She was up top, I was in the bottom on the other side. So we crossed paths, and she said hi. I said hi. We had tea. My favorite thing on the planet is to have tea. Well. Absolutely. So she did her own clippings in the back, and she was blending, and she's like, I know how to read tea leaves. I was like, wow, my grandma did too. So it was just weird connections, you know? And then poof, she's like, I can train you. I'm a master. And she worked for, when she was working, she was actually not working at the time. She was a professor at WashU University, and she taught physics. So just all of that crazy
That's
stuff.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So
she was able to. Physics teacher who does Reiki, she's probably pretty good.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just recently passed about a year and a half ago, which was kind of sad for me because I didn't get to see her. But a very dear friend of mine, like deepest, darkest part of my soul. She is the light. I mean, that's what helped reignite everything. So.
Did you say she read tea leaves?
Yeah.
What do you mean, read tea leaves?
My grandmother taught me how to read. Well, she showed me my tea leaf readings ever since I was 2 years old and up. It's funny because my aunts were just in the shop the other day. I got to tell you this really quick, funny story.
Yeah.
And everyone, there was two people in there, two younger people that don't believe in a lot of things like that. And it was funny, but they're in my shop, mind you. And
well, you have essential oils and
I have
stuff,
oils
right?
and crystals.
And I feel like essential oils are a good bridge.
Yes.
To get people interested,
yes.
right?
And I have teas in there too, like custom blend teas that I make.
Oh,
so
okay.
for meditation and Zen reasons, it's amazing. But my aunts came in to visit because my aunt was coming in for essential oil. And she starts talking about, do you remember when Grandma was reading our tea leaves? And these two kids looked up like, you aren't kidding. Your grandmother did. I'm like, I wasn't lying. This is true. But both of my aunts we were sitting there just sharing story. It was hysterical because people were looking at us like, are you serious? So tea leaves, I mean, if you've ever watched the Harry Potter shows, Professor Tremblay, I think her name was, she does tea leaf readings as well. Basically, you drink your cup of tea with your loose herbs, you pull your bag out, and you sip on that until you get to the end where there's a little bit of fluid and a lot of leaves. And then you turn it upside down on your saucer. And it lays in depictive ways. I've not mastered it, I'm not going to lie. It's very intriguing, but it's like a fortune-telling thing from gypsies way past. It's very interesting.
So what do you think's going on with that? Like what, because if somebody would just, like you just told me that and I'm thinking like, what? You flip it upside down and then you read it?
The way the tea leaves...
That's crazy.
Okay, well here, look, this here. See this pattern chart that we've...
Yeah,
you know,
I'll show the camera too so they
this
have
here.
an idea. Of like
Astrological readings.
Yeah.
The birth charts basically. So see how we have all the different pie parts on here? So we would flip that up. Like most tea, I should have clarified this. Most of the tea plates that are flipped on have some sort of design of this sort, which depicts the different houses, the different the symbolism. So they'd have a different sign in each one of the charts.
Okay.
So it'd give you a little bit more to go with.
All right.
Some of them get really in detail, but my grandmother's was just a regular teacup saucer. So, but it's interesting because when they dump it, I mean, it's the same with the card readings. I mean, like to me, Two of Cups, that's my absolute ultimate favorite card. But it is unconditional love. And I know that is a lesson I was put on this earth to learn this time. So my Two of Cups, for me, very symbolic for that. For someone else, it could be a love between two people. I mean, so there's different ways people interpret different things. So the tea leaf dumping, people learn to interpret this means this means that, this means the other.
Yeah.
So everything's different for everybody.
When you said this time, do you reincarnation? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Like you came back this time for unconditional love.
Absolutely. We sign a contract with the divine God Himself before we come down.
So we're doing this over and over again?
Until you learn your lessons.
Okay. How do you know? Okay. So how would you know that you learned your? I guess you would find out after you died if you learned your lessons or not.
Well, and then
figure out.
truthfully, for me, it took my ex-business partner kind of bailing on me in a really sour way. And instead of me going to the dark side and getting, evil and
catty.
Yes, I decided, you know what? She needed it more than me. And I just kind of threw it up to the ethers, threw it to the heavens, said, Karma will take care of it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is,
Karma took care of it.
Karma really took care of it. And I can't laugh, stop it. Yeah, she called me on my son's birthday, which was 3 days after this happened, where she walked out with stuff. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It was happening to her. And not because of anything I said or did. It's just, it's karmic ways of working. If we treat others the way we want to be treated, that's a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Because in one of the 10 Commandments, treat others as you wish to be. No, I'm not playing with that.
Yeah.
So I'm nice to you.
Right.
Not expecting you to be nice back to me, but I know that the universe will take care of me.
Yeah. So that's something we were talking about also before we started. Is and I had Patty Wilson here, and one of her things we were talking about was she's very connected with God, and she one of the major issues. I don't think one of the major issues she had, but I guess when it comes to that world and comes to your world, is a lot of people who are religious, whether it's Christian or Catholic or I don't know, whatever religion it might be,
Buddhism, whatever. Yeah.
They look at you like you're summoning some sort of evil spirits or something like that. That you're separated from that world that they're in, but you're connected, right? You'd have to be to do what you do.
Absolutely am. There's no doubt in my mind.
How do you know what you're connected to, I guess would be the question.
Honestly, I trust enough with the God source energies that we have. I say this because I deal with so many different clients, so pardon my breakage of wording there. But I deal with the direct source. I mean, Him Himself. I know, I hear, I receive. I know that it's nothing.
Just like
evil.
a pastor would say that they got the word from God and they're just preaching it back out, stuff like that.
And the fact that I know that I would not be misled and I would not be taken down a path that I'm not supposed to be going down. It's enough said right there for me. I mean, I know. A lot of people say, how do you know what gives you? I don't know how to tell you. I just know. and it's like part of my integrated DNA. I mean, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
We are all children of God.
Yeah.
And I would never do anything that would lead me the wrong path or take someone else down the wrong way with me. And believe me, there is a light and dark side to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And you know when you've hit the dark side. I worked it for 12 years.
I was going to say that when you're working I guess number one, were having physical fights with your husband and then working in the prison system, you had to have had a feeling like, boy, this is not syncing up with who I am, with the energy.
Absolutely.
This is not the right way to go.
And in truth,
did you know that at that time?
Well, looking back, yes.
Hindsight,
yes,
2020.
Absolutely, because at the time, I thought, I can't quit. I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to give up. I can't do this. I was put here to learn this lesson. When in turn, if I would have been more in tune then and knowing that, hey, wait a minute, this is not love. This is not safe. This is, it's easier to go back now. But without those lessons, would I be where I am today? Absolutely not.
Very true.
Absolutely
I guess
not.
it could be like, could you have learned the lesson easier? Could
Probably
you have gotten
could
the lesson?
But I'm a Leo and Libra rising. I'm just going to say I'm an analyzer.
Okay.
With a fiery passion in everything I do. And so it makes it really hard, not necessarily to learn a lesson, but to tame that flame, to allow my scales to balance properly.
Yeah.
So, it's in doing more of that, understanding my birth chart, understanding a lot of people don't believe in that either, by the way, but understanding that, and that the stars, that my energy came through and landed into that vessel whenever I brought my first breath onto this face of the earth. I mean, knowing those energies that go with that, guess what? They're all dead on.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is proof.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, for me personally, I don't discount anything until I've actually experienced it. And usually when I do experience things, this is a very generalized statement, but I feel like once like with you, I've always heard like the astrological chart, your horoscope, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, maybe it works for somebody, great, I don't know. And I never looked any further into it than that. I was like, it's something that girls do. Doesn't seem like a guy thing. But then whenever I met you and you mapped this out for me, we've only gone through a little bit of it, and I want to understand it more. It's fascinating, right? And it's
absolutely,
because the science that goes into it. I'm not saying like a scientist,
No,
like
no. There is absolute. Well, you figure back to Aristotle, he first started plotting the stars.
Yeah,
that in itself is miraculous.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
And how would he have that knowledge?
Right.
That's a whole other subject. But I mean, seriously, that is insane.
It is.
But then again, we also didn't have cell phones or TVs or distractions.
We didn't have distractions. Yeah,
absolutely.
All these waves
we were
flying
looking
around,
up instead of looking down.
Yeah, we could actually see the sky.
Absolutely.
You can see all the stars instead of the light blinding things out. We live in an odd world where I wish I could see the sky really well.
Oh, my front porch, we got a blaring light coming through.
You can't see anything.
You can't see a
thing. See a couple stars, and that's pretty much it. I would love to be able to, like when the Native Americans were living in America, and you could see.
Could you imagine the skies?
I can't. That's why I think we look at it and look at what they did and think like, well, so what? I'm looking up, I see the stars, but we don't see what they saw.
No,
we don't see the full
not.
scope. And I need to go to an observatory, there's that one in Hawaii. I think that you can like really see everything.
I lived in Hawaii for 4 years. I didn't know of anything of the sort.
Oh yeah, the Czech Observatory or something like that. It's like above the clouds. Like you got to drive.
That's insane.
Through the
probably
clouds
through
to
Kauai.
get to
Over
it.
Kauai, I wouldn't doubt.
I'm
not
sure.
on Oahu. I was on that little stink planet.
Was that part of the Navy?
Yes.
You were in Hawaii?
I was stationed there for the first time. That's where I was first stationed. You want to talk about a shocker walking off the plane?
We're in the most beautiful place on earth,
Well,
but you're in the Army. I'm sure
living in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull the dumb card here for real when I say this. I was thinking I was going to an island of tiki huts and stuff like that.
There's a Walmart.
Yeah, there. I was like, wow.
That's weird to me that they can that thing's in the middle of the ocean. The Hawaii's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and they can get a Walmart there. Like,
Right.
What the heck's going on? How the hell did we do that?
Yep, it was Kmart before Walmart, though. I'll tell you that. We didn't get a Walmart until a year after I'd been there.
Oh, okay.
But they quit the erection on that. Boom, up, done. It's like, wow, how did you do
How?
this?
That's so weird. So this isn't a podcast about Walmart, though. We'll do that at another time. But as far as Reiki goes, I guess 'cause we were going to talk about a couple of different things, and I think I want to study this chart with you before we have like a full conversation about
Absolutely.
that, so I understand it more. But getting into Reiki, uh, just explain to me, I guess, what is the history of it? Where did it come
This
from, and
is
why?
very old, very very old. This is old Chinese teachings, way 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 back, and it's like 1680. Oh my God, you're making me pull numbers here. I can't remember, but
A long time
a
ago.
long time ago.
Yeah.
And
Not BC though. This is all AD still. Or that?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. And I'll be the first to say it's been 20 years, so I'm gonna be a little rusty on
Mm-hmm.
this, but I mean, in all actuality, it came from hands-on healing, and some people will say that this is a derivative of Christ healing itself because he was a hands-on healer,
Yeah.
and others will poo-poo it. So
Yeah.
depending on which route you go, but the actual history behind that is it's incredible because it wasn't so precise and defined at the beginning. So I mean, we're talking hands-on certain areas of the body. You have a broken arm, I'm gonna put my hands on that. I can honestly say I can't heal a broken arm, but back then they had many many planes that have done that. So to work from that, and then you think about the chakras of the body. And for those of you who don't know what chakras are, they're epicenters of energy on the body, starting at the base, working your way up from there to the top of the head, which is going to hold your spirit chakra, and so on and so forth. It's the colors of the rainbow. I was really not prepared for this, can you tell? So the colors of the rainbow, starting at the root.
I should have prepared you.
That's all right.
I had no plans either, so it's just kind of like whatever
It's all
happens.
impromptu. So you figure red being your root,
Yeah.
you have orange your sacral, solar plexus is yellow, so that's like your guttural area. Like I like to call it the mama gut, because that's where we know something's not right. So that's also encompassing of different organs of the body too. You go to the heart, and then you have your throat chakra, your third eye, and your spirit chakra. And each one holds different energies, and each one harbors different organs in the body, like energetically. So that's where those components are. And these scientists, per se, were able to figure out what epicenters actually worked, what organs in the body, and realized when energy is placed in those areas, it prompted healing. So that was huge for them back then. And you figure it's back, before any sort of real medicine.
Yeah.
It was all the Chinese medicine, which is amazing because, truthfully, they had it right from the beginning.
Yeah. Why can't we merge the two?
And that's what I do, and that's why when I say merge, there's certain times for certain medications, and there's absolutely no need for a majority of the others. But that's my theory, not yours. I won't push it on you. But anyway, back to the chakras, and when we place hands in those areas, it actually dispels energy through to allow for healing. So when they started doing and realizing that. I mean, I think there's 32 ascended masters that are in the lineup in my history right now. When I say ascended, people who have passed in my direct history.
That you connected to that.
My lineage, for lack of
What's the
terms.
lady's name that you met when you were?
Caroline.
Is that what you mean? Like she was a part of the lineage
yes,
and you're
was
carried on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So whenever my energies go, I will be added on to that lineage as well.
Okay.
So that's why lineage is so important when you go through training. It really is. Getting to know your master and getting to understand their way of teaching, and then fine-tuning it into your own. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the history, from that point on, it literally is history. There's so much science. So much history behind it, dates, times, periods, different ways we went about. And it just blew my mind. When she started teaching me a lot of this, I went, it just does make sense. I get it. So, that being the history that some horrible dates. I had Mr. Heisenberg in high school.
I'm terrible with dates
Eisenhower,
too.
sorry. Yeah, I'm horrible with dates.
Yeah, I find history so fascinating, yet I can't remember any dates or names.
Do you remember that time, where, when? That was
with that
amazing.
one guy? Yeah. I know, it's
we'll just sit here and bob our heads. Yes. But yeah, that's the history that I'm bringing to the table today. But in all, it just goes back to being connected to Source. And I say Source being God, Source energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible. But as far as like the chakras, that's what's really stimulated the interest and understanding, and then fine-tuning of all the energetic pulls. So there's so much more to what we did, even just a regular attunement. It's insane.
And when people talk about energy, because that's another one that people are like, oh boy, somebody's talking about. I went to a gym years ago, and there was this one lady, and she was a workout fanatic. She was in phenomenal shape. But she was a little kooky. I don't know what her story was. But she would say, like, she was going to do bench press, and she was like, oh, I can't go over there right now. The energy's bad on the bench press machine. And I was like, okay, lady, I'm going to go work out over here because you're scaring me. Like,
I'd love to know what people think and say about me at times. I'll tell you, because I do that.
What do you keep it in your head though, or are you telling them like, well, I don't know?
More so since I
like that hamburger. The energy on that hamburger is bad. I'm gonna go with the chicken sandwich.
That's really bad energy. Stick to the vegan stuff as much
right,
as you can.
Yeah.
But
well, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Well.
But there's so many people out there that do that nowadays. But a lot of people don't realize to just say it because they hear other people say it.
Mm-hmm.
When I say it, I mean it. Like I won't walk into an area if I know there's something funky energetically. I just feel it in my bones. A lot of the times if I'm not like paying attention, I will hear her. My grandmother will yell at me and say no, and I'll stop and go, "What the hell?"
Geez.
And Anna, my right hand lady at my office, if I could spit it out, she will say to me, I'll have to look at her and I'll say, "Did you hear that?" She'll go, "Yes, I heard that," or "No, I didn't," because there's times where I'm like, "Whoa, what was that?" And she's like, "I didn't hear that one." But I mean, I do. I hear, and it's not a bad thing. I get messages all the time from Divine.
Wow.
But I don't sit here and talk to them in my head like crazy people. That's why I said I'd love to know at times what some people think, because they're like, ooh.
Well, that's like, man, it would be like, you meet somebody and you're so connected, like you're like, oh, I really love what they do, and then right on the edge, you're like, maybe they're crazy, or maybe they're like really connected, or maybe they're like kind of nuts. You know what I mean? And it balances back and forth.
Some of the most amazing people I met were crazy.
Or right on the borderline.
But were they crazy? That's the better question.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I'm not kidding you. Some of those boys I say boys, but the men in the prison that were in the psych wards, like the crazy areas we don't like to go to, but
yeah.
And they would be in there and they'd be just talking to themselves, and sometimes I would get to that point of an epiphany, like, is he really insane? Or is he really talking sense? And I'd be like, oh, good Lord, I gotta get out of here, leave, because it's sometimes those energies that get you sucked in and you fall.
So what do you think that is? Being a person who practices and lives in energy, right? That's a very big part of your life. What is that? Like when somebody is crazy like that, I mean, is it a mental problem or is it like... there's a million answers for that.
Yeah, but there's
so
a whole other
pigeonhole.
chapter. But I mean, truthfully, a lot of we'll start with one. We'll talk with one. When I say it does not mean crazy, but different people.
Mm-hmm.
So children that are on the autistic spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with them for about 2 years at the last place I was working at, and I did notice that with each one of those autistic children, that their auras were not placed on the body like yours and I's. They were lifted, and so if I were to draw a picture, a silhouette of a body,
mm-hmm.
and then an identical silhouette,
mm-hmm.
you take that second silhouette, raise it about 6 inches, so their aura was raised about 6 inches above their body, and they weren't rooted to the ground. So that, to me, tells me that they were a little displaced. And to be quite honest with you, I don't have an answer for that. But I did see that on all of them. There's theories. There's a lot of theories. A lot of people think that autistic children are of a different world. Mm. And a lot of people think that it's dietary. Mm. I think it's kind of a combination of everything.
Yeah. It's always in the middle somewhere.
We kind of like to refer to them almost as like crystal children, and I say that because they're gifted.
Right.
They are gifted in ways that we aren't. They tap into a part of the brain that you and I can't.
Yeah, and then therefore they have limitations on other parts because their powers are somewhere else. That's why they're very emotional and very intelligent usually. Ungrounded.
Yes, because the emotions would flow a little easier if their aura was actually connected to the earth, to Mama Earth, and then dispelling and replacing constantly, that constant cyclic nature we have. I mean, we pull all of our energy in through our left foot, and it processes it out through the right. It's like that dual polarity, like a wall socket. So that's why it's important to get outside and put your feet on the dirt.
Yeah, you were telling me. I did that this past week. I was outside.
It's amazing.
And I was stretching, and I took my shoes off and walked through my yard.
It's amazing.
And yeah, it felt really, really good.
It literally, that's why animals go outside. I don't know if you knew that either. I mean, dogs and cats have to be outside. That's why I feel so bad for these cats that get stuck in the home. You know, they can't leave and go outside, but they need a place to put their feet to dispel all that magnetivity. Yeah, that word right there.
Electromagnetivity.
It's been a long day. But yeah, they have to actually dispel their energies. Otherwise, they can get bolt. You know, did you ever see the dogs with zoomies?
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
Zoom,
that's
yeah.
exactly what that is. They have to run off that energy.
I get the zoomies inside. I like
You're
in the wintertime. Ooh, I get my wife gets so mad at me. I get so antsy. I'm like I can't be in the house. I can't sit and watch TV. I have to. We have to go do something.
I will tell you one great thing for that, and this is just me being the woo woo person I am. Keep a bucket of sand. And when you start to feel that just that jazzy going about you, take and put your feet in it. I have a lot of people that come into the crystal store and they're like, well, I can't handle it. I feel kind of dizzy. Why does it make me feel dizzy in here? There's a lot of electricity, a lot of energy going through. They'll go up and put their hands in the sand bucket. And it actually helps to take and balance energies through. They pull their hands out and I'm like, oh, I feel so much better. I can't tell you how many people cry when they walk through that front door.
Really?
Yeah. And they come in and they look at the crystals and they just start tearing up. And then I find it a blessing. I love to hear people's stories, but I get 30,000 stories a week from people that walk through the stores. All their, woes and troubles and how can I do this? What can you do to help me with that?
Yeah, and I guess that's how you can kind of get misconstrued as something like because you're not there to fix all their problems. You're not there to be a psychologist or a therapist or anything like that. You're just using yourself as like you said, a tuning fork for whatever to come through you.
Yep.
So people would look at something, I guess somebody who does tarot card readings or does what you do, and they think, boy, they're really messing with people's lives. Like you're jumping in there and pulling things out of them and then filling them up with your own I don't know interpretation of the story or the answer, whatever that might be. But and some people might be doing that. That might be what they're actually doing
and a
in
lot of
reality.
people that show up wanting that. I put that fire out quick. I'm not here to fix
They
you.
want you to answer they need somebody to fix them.
This is not my lesson to learn. And then that's where the psychologist, quote unquote, has to come out and say, listen, this is not what I'm here. I'm here to guide you.
Yeah.
If you want my help, I can help you with that, but I cannot fix you. Just as, we have to fix our own selves. We can go to 9,000 different people.
But until you're ready to be fixed.
Absolutely. But you know when. You know when you're ready. Or when you think you're ready. And then you show up and you're like, whoa, dude, I'm not ready yet. You walk away and then you come back months later. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
It is.
Because you want to be ready.
Absolutely. And if you're like me,
but
I think in your sign shows that you're not very patient as well. I wanted it 3 days ago. I don't want it right now. I wanted it 3 days ago.
Yeah, we're Americans. Of course we want it right
absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. Instant gratification.
Yeah.
And in the world of Amazon and
yeah.
2 days and it's at your door.
Well, I was just this is off topic, but on topic. Like people building over monasteries or whatever, building coliseums, or I can't think of the right term right now. But they'll start building a beautiful giant structure, knowing they're going to die before they ever see the completion of it. So sometimes what you are doing here is not even for you; it's for somebody else.
Absolutely.
And I think that's pretty powerful.
That's huge.
And that also is very difficult for a human like for our lifespan to comprehend. Which, if you believe in reincarnation, then that could. I have a million questions. I'm just going to try to stay on one path here, but the fact that you were put here to maybe move forward because maybe your son or your daughter or somebody you're connected to in the future is going to do something because of what you were here to help them do.
We are all connected in one way, shape, or form.
So acting like we're super important and we're going to be the one doing the thing might not even be the case. You're just here to guide the system along and move it forward.
Absolutely. My biggest thing is I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I say that all the time because it's constantly redeveloping every day. And I say that in a slight way, but it's true. Everything that I do isn't just for me, though. I know that I'm building a platform might not be for my son, or sons, I should say. It might be for one of their children.
Yeah.
Because, it skipped my mother's, when I say skipped her generation, her sisters and her pretty much all ignored it. So it went from my grandmother to me. So I can't honestly say that what I'm doing isn't going. It's going to impact everybody. Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be
but
doing
who's it meant for?
Absolutely. Yeah. What's the end result in this is the big thing for me, and I don't have an answer.
Where does reincarnation play into all this? Is that just something else that you believe along with this, or how did that?
Scientifically, if you think about it, energy never dies.
Okay.
So you can never the atoms, they never die. They're constantly there. They're just pulled, redirected, and made into something new.
Yeah,
so how can we be so human to think that we don't come back in energetic form? That's me. That's me. And And
But why would we come back here, I guess would be my
We
question.
don't necessarily. You think
So
about
it could be reincarnation somewhere else.
and it could be something else, and it
Right.
could be different cosmos for that.
Oh, okay.
You
Alright.
think about
So
it.
that is reincarnation is not based on just the earth.
No.
Okay.
It's energetic force.
Because when you die, your energy leaves and it stays.
Mm-hmm.
It's still there.
Yeah.
But it can go anywhere. I guess
Anywhere.
that's interesting.
And it can dispel. I mean, it's not like you're one being. In my
Yeah.
mind, you are atoms that just.
Oh,
And then
okay.
they float. I can honestly say, whenever my grandmother passed, I knew she was going to die. She told me. She says, I'm going to be leaving at this time, and I'm going to be leaving from that corner of the room. And I knew, and mind you, that I think we had this conversation where my aunt's like, you didn't talk to her. I said, yes, I did. She goes, you guys stood there and stared at each other. You didn't say a word. She told me millions of things. I mean, to the point where I thought I was there for 3 hours. And I was there for 7 minutes. And it's like, okay. So I knew she was leaving, and she said she was leaving out this area. Her aura was purple. She left a purple mark on the wall. It's like incredible. So to me, to be able to see that stuff, I have to believe. I can't not see that. But other people are not able to see that. They can poo-poo it all day long. So I mean, when you go back to one of the original questions, you said, what do you say when people don't believe you? I don't care.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
I mean,
well, my wife has migraines, right? And it's like I can't. It's difficult because you can't see the migraines, and it's like I know she's in pain. I can tell by the way she's acting, but it's difficult when you can't physically see the thing.
Migraines.
So with you, it's
wicked.
like I mean, I wouldn't know. I was except through her.
I've only ever had what I think could have been migraine once. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but
I'm comparing it to what you do. Is like, sure, I can believe that you do see all of it, but I'll never be able to truly find out. Right? I mean,
there's a chance. I mean, there are some people that come in late to their development and they can't see things like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's all about spiritual enlightenment and what it is you were meant to be here to do. I mean, I know that you're meant to be in, just by looking at your chart, that you're meant to be in the spotlight. You're very, very much, you're trying so hard to understand I almost said sexuality, spirituality. Sorry about that one.
Is this going back to the toys you used to sell?
Yeah,
or what?
maybe so. But yeah, if you look at it, for me, I look at this and I go, this is what you are, to what I know you to be. But I also see the dark side, So I mean, we'll have to sit on this.
I'm excited. Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Well, let's wrap it up and go through it because I
Okay.
can learn more, and then we can
Yes.
have another one later on, and we'll talk more about it.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like? I guess promote your business a little bit. Tell people about where they can find you.
Downtown Hollidaysburg, right behind the juice bar. If you guys are familiar with juice, I mean, literally, you can walk through their store and hit the back door, and that's the side door to my office.
Now, this could be worldwide, too. Think about that.
Yeah.
Like anybody could listen to this anywhere. So if you're from Central Pennsylvania, that's
where
the
you're
spot.
going to go. Yeah, right beside Black Dog's Cafe.
Now, if they want to find you, are you on social media?
I am. I'm
Okay.
on Facebook. It's CC Wellness Center, I believe.
CC Wellness Center.
And also on Instagram. And that's my biggest passion, is keeping people motivated and moving forward in a spiritual realm. Now, mind you, we try to keep an understanding that we are going to have some R ratings on some of my posts. I say that in the sense of bad words. So, and I'm real. I speak fluent French. So, so there are some posts, but yeah, take your time, check it out. It's incredible. I really love sharing inspirational mantras, I guess you could call them. So yeah, definitely check me out.
You're on camera doing. I haven't watched any of your stuff.
I do have a couple. No, it's funny as
Are you typing? It's all just words.
That is all wording. I did have an Enchanted Sisters page, which I was with my ex-business partner. We kind of shut that down. I had a ton of videos on there. So Tracy's been on me. She wants me to do some more videos. It's not a matter of wanting to do them. I love doing them. I love talking. Can you tell?
So what's the issue?
The issue is time at this moment. Yeah. So finding the time to sit. My son he's moving out on the 1st of September, so I get my office back.
Oh, okay.
I love him dearly.
But it's time to get out.
Time to get my office back. So I'll have a place to record then.
Cool.
I mean, as of right now, it's kind of.
I think one of those impactful things that people can do, and I have been forcing myself to do it lately, and what I've been doing lately is just recording videos and not releasing them, because I love motivational videos and people just telling their stories or whatever is inside of their head that could impact them because it could impact somebody else.
Absolutely.
Because it impacted them. At the same time, I also don't want to feel like a douche. So I'm like, I don't want to make all these.
Me.
Yeah,
It's me.
So I've been forcing myself to get past that. I'm fine doing podcasts. I'm fine, doing funny stuff. When it comes to all the other stuff in my head that I want to talk about, I'm bringing myself to do it. I've recorded a bunch of videos, and I put a couple on my Instagram, but for the most part, I still have them just saved on my phone because I'm just practicing getting used to doing it because I feel like if it helps one person, and if that one person's even you.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, just
Video
being able
dialogue.
to, yeah,
that's amazing.
just being able to go back and recount what you've learned and just kind of like your experiences is very beneficial and therapeutic for yourself. That's one of the things this podcast has helped me with. So if you can do that for other people and be willing to put that out there, it's huge. And a lot of people, I think, want to do it, right? They have, like, especially people who have a lot of experience like you do. Like, you want to get that out, but a lot of people feel like, I don't want to annoy people or burden them, or I don't know how I'm going to come off, what I'm going to sound like, what I'm going to look like. And man, if you can get past that and just start doing it.
I watched your one thing you were talking about. Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter where you're at, just do it. Just get out there.
Yeah.
I think you had that, was it on Facebook maybe?
Yeah, I did do some, and I've been off and on.
Yeah, I did see one like that. I mean, it's true though. I mean, that's one of my biggest things. I'm like, wow, my hair doesn't look good today. So I'm not going to do this.
That's,
make excuses all the time. And that was in the beginning, and then it got to the point where it's like, you know what? I have an amazing camera ring light that makes me look like a supermodel. Awesome. And so I will do them then.
Yeah.
No, it really is. It's time. You've got one of those amazing lights right there.
Yeah, I do have a ring light. I need to use it. I barely ever use it. It just kind of sits there. I mean, I have these lights set up, but there's the internet's created a powerful world of inspiration, and I use it every day. If I'm feeling in a funk or whatever, I think I woke up in the morning and just put a podcast on.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, geez. I love Joe Rogan.
Yes. Oh, gosh.
And the people he brings into his world. Half the reason I'm doing this podcast is because I've listened to him for millions of hours. Tony Robbins, one of my favorites of all time. Ty Lopez is somebody who I love. Gary Vaynerchuk. I like some of his stuff. Some of it's like just a little bit too. I don't know. I think I need to get more into him. But Tim Ferriss is a big one. Dale Carnegie with the books. I don't know what his speaking stuff was like, but there's a lot of different people that I go right to them. I'm like, I know what I need, and I know they're gonna give me that thing that I need. What about you?
It's funny because I'm listening. Yours are all male. That's okay because mine are almost all female.
Yeah, I can't find. I've never found a female that I resonated with.
Gabby Bernstein. She is amazing. She's like my girl crush. I love her. Her and Rebecca Campbell. Okay. Now those two, they're very limited on what they have podcast-wise, but they also do YouTubes. So I mean, they're all over thousands of Gabby Bernsteins.
Okay.
She is an amazing powerhouse female speaker. She's the one that wrote Universe Has Your Back.
Okay.
Incredible book. If you've not read it, get it, read it. Love it, share it. But Rebecca Campbell, she wrote Rise, Sister, Rise. And it's all about empowering that female energy within and bringing yourself back up. So again, of course, she's a female. I connect with her. Mm-hmm. But I know so many men that have read her books that are incredible.
Oh, okay.
Lisa Lister. She's a little dark. I love her. She's very my alter ego side of things. She's incredible. But oh my gosh, the list goes on and on.
It's funny. I don't have any girls on my list, and I should.
Those three you should.
Okay, I'll mark them down and start checking them out. Yeah, and it's nothing. It's not a sexist thing.
You relate to men going through the same thing that you may be going through, just as I relate with the females.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, Tony Robbins, I will say, he's amazing. Joe Rogan, I love for entertainment. Mm-hmm. But I mean, when it comes down to that spiritual, let's get into the gunk of everything and start drugging through things. That's where I go. Gabby Bernstein, Rebecca Campbell, and Lisa Lister.
Okay.
All incredible books, too.
Cool. I'll check. I'm going to write those down as soon as we're done here. Thank you very much, Lynn.
You're welcome.
This was a lot of fun.
I know, it was a lot of fun.
So we're going to go over the chart, and then we'll come back in for another podcast and talk about how, what my planets are. Or I don't know how
where you're aligned and you're ascending and descending and all that fun stuff. What nodes you may have. Yeah, it's all foreign gibberish now, but you'll understand it when we're
cool. I can't wait. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks from Lynn Faust, Crystal Clear Wellness.
Yes.
Why did I say it weird? Crystal Clear
It's
Wellness.
It's a tongue twister.
It is kind of a tongue twister.
So we say CC Wellness sometimes.
Okay.
It's just easier.
All right, I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks.
Bye. Everybody on YouTube, if there is anybody, thank you so much for watching.
Yes.
and have a beautiful day. Let's spin you around so I can shut it off. How do I end it though?